Good evening. How you doing? How's everybody doing? Happy New Year, by the way. This is hard to believe that it's 2023 already. My gosh, I don't know where the time has gone. And anyway, but I think I feel good about this year. I think 2023 is going to be a good year. Let's see. A lot going on tonight. A little rattled here. Lost some notes and stuff like that. So we'll see. Maybe I'll still keep it together by the time this show's over. If it's your first time here, this is the night we do photo reviews. We do this on the first Tuesday of the month at 8 p.m. Eastern, of course. And you're welcome to submit your work. I love to see your new work. And of course, this is where I provide creative and constructive input to encourage you to be a better photographer. Normally I cover a photographer that's highlight a photographer that's influenced my work, but tonight we got so much to cover and we have so many submissions that I think we're going to hold that off till another evening. Let's see here. I've got some big announcements here to make, and I'm pretty excited about them. It's something I've been working on a long time. Hopefully you guys will appreciate it as well. But the first announcement, and I'll kind of get through these so we can get through the reviews. We've got some great work tonight, by the way. You guys are going to love this. Is something called the Photo Mentor Academy. Of course, you guys probably heard me talk about that before. But this is a new program called Steps. And again, I've mentioned this before in some of the other videos, but it's a program that I've been putting together for quite a while. Actually, it's based on about 30 years experience of my own work, doing work for large and small clients, and also teaching, I don't know, maybe up to 1,000, I don't know how many people I've had in my classes and things like that over the years. But it basically is a methodology that helps you become more creative and helps you become a more confident photographer. It's not a course. I don't call it a course. It's really more of a program. It's a mentoring program because there's a lot more to it than just a bunch of videos that you can watch, like something that you would see on YouTube, for example, which we do YouTube videos, so obviously that's where you're here. But this program is very, very different. And again, I'm going to give you just a quick rundown of the 4 steps or 5 steps, and then I'll move on because there's too much to cover here to be able to go into this. But what I encourage you to do is go to a website. I don't think I have the actual. Go to the website. It's called photomentoracademy.com/steps, STEPS. And that will help you out and give you some information about on what the program's all about. But the short of it is that it is something that really it's kind of backwards, in fact, from what most people teach. And I'm kind of proud of that because I believe that a lot of people are teaching photography incorrectly. And I can base that on 2 things. Number one, seeing results from people that have worked with me and just amazing 180-degree turnaround. People that are just overwhelmed, ready to quit by all the stuff they're being told, all the technology. But this program definitely works. It absolutely works, and it will make you more creative, and it will make you a better photographer. And if it doesn't, I'll give your money back. How's that? Can't beat that. But the program, again, is it's based on this program called STEPS, and it stands for Seeing, Telling, Exposing, Processing. And what that is so in the seeing part is really more about learning. It's the first thing we start with, and the reason that is because if you can't see, if you don't know how to recognize a photo, and be able to communicate that photo in an effective way, then it doesn't matter what gear you have or if you have the best cameras or any of that kind of stuff. It's not going to do you any good. So seeing is the most important thing. You don't even have to have a camera to do this step, by the way. In fact, I encourage a lot of new photographers to just use your phone. And they're like, well, why would I do that? Well, because it reduces the barrier, removes the barrier of technology, and now you're only seeing the subject. So the first thing that I teach is something called the scene aspect, and this is very, very important. I go into a lot more detail, and I'll give you a glimpse of this in just a second. The next step is the telling part. Now, here's the part that most people miss. Some of them can get the scene part right, but they totally miss the telling part. And here's my point. If you have an image that's beautiful, it's sharp, best lenses, great bokeh, all the fancy stuff that people will want, but it's just boring, then what's the point? Okay? People want images that tell a story. They want to be connected emotionally, and they want to be compelled to look at that image. That is what the telling aspect is about. So, again, without going into too much detail, here's the point. We are in the business of communication. Now, a lot of people think we're in the business of photography. We are not. We're in the business of communicating, just like anyone, like a broadcaster or anyone else. And our job is to take a visual image and communicate that effectively, compelling, and create emotion with our client or our friend or whoever the person is we're generating the photo for, even ourselves. If you don't do that, what's the point? It doesn't matter. So that's where the telling comes in. You have to learn to tell a story with your images. And the way you do that is using a number of things, one of them being for example, the 7 elements of art and design. And these are tools that you would use to communicate a message, to tell a story to someone. And these are things that I teach in this program. So that is why, one of the reasons why I'm so focused on seeing and telling up front. Most people are the opposite. They'll say, oh, you got to learn the exposure triangle, you got to learn how to shoot on manual, all this kind of crap. That is not the way to learn to be a photographer. Trust me, it is not. And if that's what you're being told, you are doing it the wrong way, and it will, I promise you, it will slow you down. It will not speed you up. It will not make you a better photographer. It will, all it does is get a lot of technical stuff in the way. Now, doesn't mean you can't do that later on, but it's not where you start with, okay? All right, so the next thing, of course, is the E, the exposure. Now, this is where then most people start with. But I take for me, this is the third step. In other words, once you start to learn to see, once you start to learn to tell a story and understand composition, the 7 elements of art, then you can start to learn the exposure. Until then, I don't care if you shoot on auto. I don't care if you shoot with an iPhone. That's not important. That's at this point, here's where you start to learn exposure and that kind of stuff. Now, one of the things that I do, and I meant to have this in here, and it's one of the things I didn't have, is I don't teach exposure the way most people teach exposure. I don't use exposure triangles and all that stuff because it's confusing and complicated. And so I use common terms and ways. So let me give you a quick synopsis of my approach. My approach is not for you to meet me in the way I teach. My approach is to meet you where you learn. So, in other words, if I'm explaining something to you and you don't understand it, that's my fault, not your fault. So that's just a little bit different than most people do. So anyway, so the point is that an exposure part comes in. That's the third part, and I'll give you some examples of what we cover in that. And then then we get into processing. And processing, of course, as Ansel Adams, one of my favorite quotes, is the negative is the score and the print is the performance. And what he's saying here is that the capturing of the image is only the half of it. The other half is transposing that or transforming that image into the image that you want to convey, the story you want to tell. Let's go back to number 2, right? It's the story you want to tell. It's not about a style or any kind of stuff. It's about the story. And if the processing does not help reinforce the story, then it's out of sync. So all of these 4 together takes you to the last S, which is success. So this program is designed to make you more creative, more confident, more compelling, create more compelling images, and to get more clients or just get more happier friends and family if you're shooting for them. It doesn't have to be a business-related situation. But that is really one of the most important things. Now, if you want to, this is what some of the things, this is a pretty extensive, this is not even half of it, by the way. This is just there's 34 modules right now that I'm working on. They're not all done, I'll be honest with you. This program here takes you to, it starts out, gives you an overview of what the STEPS program is, and then we go into a lot of detail. So like for first question I ask is, why do you want to be a photographer? Like, well, that's kind of an odd question. Well, if you don't understand where you're going, how do you know if you're going to get there or not? And then I go into the learning part, how to learn to see, lighting, just briefly. Again, I mentioned the intro, just touch on the intro of the 7 elements of art. Then we go in a little bit of composition, and then there's some exercises that you'll get. Then you go to the steps, or to the telling part. It gets a little more extensive there. Then we go into the part where you the point is that why clients buy images. Something else I harp on. It's not, people don't buy photos from you, they buy service, quite honestly. And so that is why the telling part is so important. Then we go into the visual learning language. Again, the 7 elements of art is really part of that. Composition, elements in composition, and then how to shoot an essay, a combination of images. And then you get a magazine assignment of how you would shoot a magazine assignment, and I give you guidelines on what that's going to be like. Then I go into module number 3, which of course is the exposure. Get a little geeky here, but not too much. Again, the idea is to do this without the techno babble, which I've been able to do quite effectively. But understanding how a camera works a little bit. What's going on inside the thing? And the more you understand how it works, the better you're able to understand how to use it. Why not to shoot in manual, or I should say when to shoot in manual. Manual's nothing wrong with manual, but sometimes the problem now is everybody says you have to shoot on manual to be a pro, and that's just absolutely not true. My analogy is that if you were teaching a teenager to drive, would you require they learn to drive a manual transmission before they even learn the rules of the road? You wouldn't. That doesn't make any sense. It's the same thing here. It seems like they want you to make it more difficult for some reason, and I don't understand why. So anyway, so we go into that. We go into a lot more detail, on some topics on why my image is out of focus. These are all based on questions I've gotten year after year after year from people that are struggling. And then of course the P for our processing part, we go into a lot of detail on whether you should process or not. Some people don't think you should, don't want to do that, and that's fine. What is a RAW format and how you use it, and it's correctly. And then I go into digital color, which is one of the things that really confused me more than anything else when I switched from film to digital way back when. We cover Lightroom, Adobe Lightroom, image management, how to edit your images, how to make them pop. I go into Photoshop, we go into layering, masking, and then finally Affinity Photo, which is an alternative to Photoshop. Now, these are just the basics modules, by the way. There's a whole nother section which I haven't showed you called the advanced section that would be part of this. And there I go into a lot of things, like a lot more lighting detail, understanding lighting, how to really use lighting, how to not be afraid of it, flash photography, for example. I have a whole thing I'm working on how to build your own studio. I have a lot of people ask me, hey, Lee, tell me how I should build my own home studio. How should I lay it out? All that kind of stuff. So there's an advanced section which you can go into. It's part of the program. You can use it or not. But as you grow, these are questions that you might have. So those are that's a tip of the iceberg, really, literally, of what's been going on here in the last year and a half and what I've been working on. Now, let me be up front. This program is not for everyone. There's going to be a lot of people that are not going to want to participate in this program, and there's going to be probably a couple of reasons. Number one, financially, it may not make sense, and that's fine. I understand that. We all have limitations and issues we're dealing with. But the biggest one probably is people that are really into photography because they love the technology. I can talk at any level people want to talk at. If you want to talk bits and bytes, I can do that. But that's not what this program is oriented at. This program is oriented at you, the new photographer that wants to be an artist. And so I focus very, very heavily on the creative aspects, not the technical aspects. So if you're what I call a techno geek, pixel peeper, then this course is not for you. If you're a pro photographer, this course is not for you. It's not intended for you, and so therefore you will really be disappointed if you sign up for it. So just and I try and address as much of that as I can in the Photo Mentor Academy slash steps webpage. If you go in there, I'm also going to do a video. It's going to go in more detail on that whole thing, which I have to finish and get that done for you. Oh boy, that's part of what we've been working on. Sue Ann and I have also been working on a lot of other new stuff. One of the things we're going to be launching here shortly, if that wasn't enough, is a whole new community. So this new community is going to be part of Photo Mentor Academy. Everyone that's in the private Facebook group will automatically have access. You'll get an invite and you'll get access. And the reason we're doing this is for a couple of reasons. Number one, when you're on a platform like Facebook, it's nice because you have a lot of people you can reach out to that, are there for other reasons. But the problem is you're held hostage by them. So we don't really have any control over what they do, what they show, and what we cover. And they're always making changes to the system. So this new community called the Studio, called the PMA or Photo Mentor Studio, is a private system. I don't know what's going on here. Sorry, Sue Ann. I don't know why these titles are not showing up. Let me look at this real quick. Anyway, I'll look at this in a second. So this community is intended to be really focused on you, and it also gives us much more flexibility, much more capability. So for example, we're able to break out groups. So if you want to have a group, we're going to have one specific area just for challenges. There'll be monthly challenges. You'll be able to go in, shoot to these challenges, post these photos, have people look at them, and we could even assign awards or things like that to it. So that's a pretty cool idea to get you. Again, it's all focused on helping you to be a better photographer. The area I'm most excited about is the interactive video portion. It has the ability for us to have interactive or group chats or photo mentoring, actually, is what I'm going to be using it for, where you don't have to have any software, you don't install Zoom or anything on your system if you want. And you can go on there, if you don't want to, you can go on there and connect your camera, microphone, or not, if you don't want to, and participate and ask any questions you want, that type of thing. And I'm very, very excited because it gives us this ability without having to install anything, and that I think is a big plus. So interactive video coaching is something I'm really looking forward to. There's a group on there, a section on there for question and answers, and then there will also be a section on there for members of the STEPS program. So if you if you become a member of the STEPS program, you'll have your own area that's separate, that you have access to me pretty much all the time. And then the last thing we've added to the website recently, you may not have noticed, if you go to this, in the lower right-hand corner, you'll see something that says New Question or Ask Question. You can pretty much ask us any question, not 24/7, because we're not there all the time, but we're there a lot. And when you click on that link on the lower right-hand corner, it'll pop up and you can ask us a question. And if it's social media related, for example, Sue Ann will get the message. If it's photo mentoring, I'll get the question, and I can respond to you anytime and be able to help you out through there. So that's another thing we've added to the site. Boy, there's a whole bunch of other stuff I can't think of right now. I'm sorry, but that's enough in I believe, in what's going on, and just we're pretty excited about it. Like I said, it's been in the works a long time. It's not there yet. We're still building out the modules, but it's something I'm going to be putting all my time in. I should also mention one other thing. I meant to mention this up front. If you do not become a member of Photo Mentor Academy Steps program, that's fine. The Facebook page is not going to go away. The help I'm giving you, the coaching, the mentoring I'm giving you right now for free is not going to go away. It's still going to be there. That is why I'm doing this to begin with. That is why I'm putting so much time and effort into it, is because I know you're not getting the help you need in these other groups. So that's not going to change. This is an addition to what we're doing there. If you really want to dive deeper, that's where this other program comes in. Oh, boy. Okay. Let me look at this real quick and figure out why Sue Ann is not able to do... I don't know. Let me see here real quick, Sue Ann. I'm not sure what's going on, why that is not working. Let me try it real quick and see if I can bring one up. Try and bring up another one. Would you mind, Sue Ann, post another question there? Just real quick, see what happens. Doesn't matter if it's one you've seen shown before. Maybe it's not working. Oh, well. Okay. Technology, ain't it grand? All right, so I guess I'll go back to what we had before. At least it wasn't working, but it wasn't. It was a little better, I think. Okay, there's that one, and there's this one. Ah, there we go. Okay, that did it, I think. All right. Okay. Let's see. I think that's about it as far as announcements. Again, there's a lot more we're working on, but I don't want to take up the whole time doing just announcements. But I appreciate you guys bearing with me. This has been a lot of work and a lot of time and a lot of effort, but it's going to be well worth it, and I know you guys are going to benefit from it. So that's the thing that excites me about it. Okay, let me see here. So the next thing we want to do is we're going to start into doing some of the reviews here. Let me bring up this other window. I think that's, so I can make sure I can show you this. There we go. And that is going to be, yep, this one right here. Okay. All right. A lot of great images this week, of course. You guys are fantastic. And I wanted to tell you this up front. I kind of forgot. Sorry. I want to thank you guys for submitting your photos and for working with me this last year in 2022. It has been so rewarding. I enjoy meeting all you guys. I enjoy working with you guys. Oh, look at this, Sue Ann. I just found my notes I was missing. Oh, I forgot the other thing I wanted to tell you about. Okay. So, hey, let me get to this first. I'll save this for later. But I really appreciate all the help you guys have given me. You know, I know you don't understand this because you all seem so appreciative. Hey, Lee, thanks for helping me. Thanks for taking the time. But let me help you understand that this helps me too. I really enjoy helping you. I enjoy seeing you grow. I enjoy seeing you become more creative, and I really enjoy seeing you enjoy photography. So when you ask me questions, I know many of you have heard me say this before. When you ask me a question, it's like gold to me. And you're like, well, what do you mean? I love your questions. And the reason is twofold. Number one, I know I'm helping you when you ask me a question. And number two, it helps me focus, helps me understand what things I should be focusing on, what kind of things you need to know about. So when you ask me a question, a lot of times I'm like, oh, wow, never thought of that. Because when you've been doing this as long as I have, let's face it, you forget sometimes this stuff. And so it's important to bring yourself back down to earth, so to speak, and remember what kind of things are the basic questions that you were asking when I started out. So simple things. So I love your questions. Thank you very much for allowing me to help you this last year, and this year is going to be even better. So I'm going to tease you a little bit, and then we're going to go into. I'll get into some of the quotes, and then the reviews, and then we'll come back to this. A couple of things that I'm going to announce tonight are a free resource that you can use. A couple of them to display your work. A couple of you guys have been gracious enough to test this for me, make sure it's working. I'm going to announce it. I'm going to give you the URL for it, and this is totally free. You can download these, and I think you're going to really, really like them, especially after the review and you see your photos. So yeah, okay, let's get into this. Okay, so the first image we have tonight is, let's see if I have this queued up here. I think I do. Yeah, here we go. The first image we have tonight is by PM, and PM's only been shooting about less than a year, which is just amazing considering the look of their work. But I saw this photo, and I reached out to him, it's a guy, and I said, listen, would you mind submitting this photo? I said it really spoke to me, and it really showed the emotion in this image of this person you photographed. And he wrote back and said that in the photo, he said it's all about pain and frustration in dealing with a wife's progressive illness and its strategy. And so that was obvious to me. When I saw this photo, I said there is so much expression in this man's face that this is storytelling. Okay, it's nothing else in there. I mean, you could add some other things, but the point is, even in this picture, I could tell I could feel the emotion. And this is what I want you guys to learn. This is what I want you to strive to be able to do, is produce these kinds of images. And this is just one that is simple, okay, but it's very compelling and it's very, very emotional. And I didn't even know all this, by the way. When I reached out to this person, I didn't even know all this was going on until afterwards. So that was pretty cool. So, okay. So, again, not a whole lot I can reference on this one. It looks, the composition is nice. The lighting is perfect. There's really nothing that I would critique or suggest on this one. I mean, you know, there's always more you could say, but I think the picture works the way it is. If I were to say, if you wanted to add more to it, you have to be careful, by the way, because it's easy to sometimes add too much and take away from the image. So I would say, if I wanted to be a little more obvious, it might be to be holding a photo of his wife, or something that would say that he would be saying that you would know he's grieving for his spouse. That might be the other thing you could add that would make that story just a little more impactful and maybe a little more obvious, because it's a little subtle unless you're in tune with it, and so some people may not see that. But other than that, I think the picture definitely works, and so no problem there. Good job, PM. Okay, so the next one, well, where's the next photo here? All right, we'll do it this way. Let's see here. Okay, this next one is also by PM, and this is an interesting photo. This one could use a couple help. This one is a photo of this guy and his wife as a vampire. Now, I don't know if this is related at all to her illness and what's going on. It certainly could be, but it's pretty interesting that I think, and it's lit very well, and it certainly communicates. It's composed well. It works. The picture works. What I suggested, and there might be a little, again, maybe I'm a little too obvious on some of these things because I always assume people don't always get it. maybe a drop of fake blood or ketchup on her, or something to convey, again, the vampire part of this that he's trying to get across. You could, because otherwise you could interpret this a couple different ways. So, but anyway, a good image, very well done, definitely communicates, good composition, good lighting. Technically, it's great, which you guys know I don't really comment on the technical aspects that much because, frankly, it's the easiest part to get. It's that storytelling and the scene that's the hard part. So in this one, I think he still did a great job, still really nice, but maybe a little bit something else to kind of reinforce that vampire aspect of this would be my suggestion. But good job. Okay, now this one was provided by, oh gosh, and I don't have the initials. I apologize. My notes are all messed up tonight. This one was, this person likes to hike and nature, and so they were out. I think they've been shooting, I think this one's about 5 years, if I'm not mistaken. I have to look it up. So obviously this is some kind of growth on a tree, I would assume. It looks like fungus or some kind of something like that. Anyway, it's a macro shot, really, and it works okay. Good depth of field, but and this has nothing to do with the subject matter, but there's not much of a story here. I mean, it's interesting, but I don't know what it is. So in other words, it kind of, see, here's one of the things you got to watch out for. If there's too much going on in a photo, then your eye wanders around the frame. And when it wanders around the frame, you don't know, the person doesn't know what they're supposed to be looking at. They're like, okay, the photographer's trying to tell me something, but I don't quite know what it is. And that's what happens in a photo like this. It also, this is another one from the same person, and this is also the same situation. I understand what you're trying to do here, but you have to give me more information and the viewer more information of what it is I'm supposed to be looking at. So, excuse me. You guys will hear me use this term a lot if you've been around here at all, and I talk about what's the hero of the shot. When I say hero, I don't necessarily mean person. It could be a person, it could be a thing, it could be an object, it could be a product. But the thing is, what is the most important thing in the frame? And that's what you need to look at. There's probably a way I could show you that by taking and turning down the threshold on this thing. But I don't, yeah, here it is right here. Oh yeah, it is. This has been done. This is provided by SN, and let me just look at this real quick here, real quick, see if I can find. Yeah, here we go. Okay, let me show you what this looks like. So, if you were to pull this up and look at this, here we go. So here's the same photo, but it's with all the color taken out. And here, I'll just exit. There's what it looks like with just regular. And then if you go into the image and you say, I want to take, and you want to threshold. So what this does, this brings everything down to pure white, pure black. So if you do something like this, then the question is, what's your eye go to? What's the first thing your eye goes to? And it's this white spot in the top part, of course. That's the way the human brain works. But the thing is, there's still nothing really, even that is kind of distracting. It doesn't tell you where you're supposed to be looking. So what you want to be able to do in an image like this is be able to have something for the person to look at, to draw their attention to an object, a subject, something that says, oh, okay, I see what they're trying to tell me. And that's kind of what's missing on this. So I would encourage you, really, SN, to keep working on this. And if you want, please submit more images. This is an intention to help you, not discourage you. I want you to want you to see you get better. And so to do that, that's why I do this here. So that's important that you remember that. Okay. Let's see. So back to my photos again. Okay. This one was provided by, let's see. This one was provided by NA, and NA says they've been trying to get better at shooting black and white and being more creative. And I think this is a great example of where this person is doing this. So it's not obvious. In other words, they're not trying to be in your face. It's very subtle. So number one, the conversion to black and white is done very well here. It's very contrasty. It's also, when you're shooting in black and white, here's something to think about. A black and white photo has to have a lot of contrast and a lot of graphics. It's a graphical nature. So if it doesn't work, if it doesn't have that, and this does this. So you've got a lot of texture, okay, which again, 7 elements of art is the texture. Tone or values, which is the second, one of the other things that's in the 7 elements of art, and this has that for in spades, of course. And the texture on the paw and the graphical nature of the paw really does a very good job of that. And of course, having the dog in the background, slightly out of focus, not too out of focus, but you can still tell it's a dog, and you can still tell it's probably a shepherd or something, he's sleeping. And so I think it works. Composition-wise, it works. And so that's the other thing. Let me show you what that looks like here. I think it's, where is this? Oh, here it is, yeah. Yeah. So if you look at it like this, okay, and then you do, you crop it and you put some rule of thirds on it, okay. You can see that they've laid it out pretty well. So it doesn't show up. There we go. So there you can see that they've used the rule of thirds, whether they've known it or not, in setting this up. And of course, it's even better if you crop it a little bit down. Let me see here. Straighten up, square. We want freeform. I keep forgetting. You know, I haven't been using Photoshop much lately. I've been trying to use another product I keep telling you guys about. And yeah, here, let's see if this works. Oops, it's not working. Oh, I see, 1-to-1. Oh well. Anyway, you guys get the idea. So there's a rule of thirds here. The bottom part, the top part, left and right. Instead of putting it right in this right in the center, they cropped it properly or shot it properly, and so therefore it definitely fits that that composition, and so it works really well. Nice job on that one, NA. So I'm glad to see you shooting more in black and white, because it's a great way to learn. Okay, so let me go back here. All right, so the next one is also, I love this one. So the other one, this is from the same person, obviously, and I like this a lot. It's really kind of cool, because in a way, you could say you don't even know what it is. Again, this is an example of not being literal. It really could be graphical. We know it's a dog, of course, first of all, because we saw the first image, but even that, you probably would know it's one. But again, having that graphical nature of the nose with the light being side lit, the shadow, I think it's a pretty interesting photo. Again, it's really an exercise in composition, in my opinion, and in using black and white or lighting. It's a little, according to my monitor, it could be a little hot maybe. You might want to bring the exposure down just a hair, but that's okay. It's not much. It doesn't really bother me. I think it looks great. So again, nice job on this one too. Way to go. Okay, so this one is this one was done by JS or SJ, I guess it is. Yeah, and this is shot because they're interested in food photography. And their friend had opened a small shop and asked her to do some of their pastries as a subject. So again, the composition is good here. You've really you've done a good job on trying to kind of get that framework there, or the framing there. my only suggestion would be is to work a little more on this story. In other words, okay, we know it's pastry. You probably want some, you could have dripping. Some of the I assume you put it on these kind. I don't know. Maybe these are not cinnamon rolls, possibly. Of the icing, you want to include something that's part of the food that you would either use to eat it with or prepare it. Especially if they're preparing it, if they're a baker, then you probably want to include something in there. So you could have a sprinkle. I see you have some flour in there, which is a great idea. You have the spoon, you have the cinnamon. So you're on the right track there. You're heading in that right direction. Keep working that setup though. And also here's a tip on the lighting. Most people don't realize this. If you you'll notice this now that I mention it. Start looking at food photography. And what you'll find, and product photography in general, but mainly food photography, what you'll notice is they tend to light from the rear. So they'll have the light coming from the rear. Now, I don't know if you're using natural light. This could be natural light or available light. But either way, they'll have light coming from the rear. And the reason you do that is because it gives, on something like this, it gives it some texture. When you side light an object, it gives it much more texture than if you top light it or front light it. Then what you want to do is take some white foam core, mirrors, flashlight, whatever you want to use, it doesn't matter, and bounce a little bit of light back into the subject to give it some fill. And that will help you a lot. And again, this is something that I've been teaching my friend James how to do. Maybe we'll have him on or something, talk about his food photography. But that's the idea. So if you're doing product photography, think about lighting it from the rear, so about 45 if you can, up and behind, so you get some texture to the subject, and then take a small bit of light from the front, and then you can control that. Again, you can I'll use white foam core or paper, whatever. I mean, I've even used little mirrors, things like that. And in some things I've done, I'll bring up sometime if I can pull them up, is I've done some shots with flashlights, light painting. So I'll take a product, lay it out, open the lens, paint with the flashlight, turn it off, open the lens again, paint another area, paint another area. It takes a while, and you don't always know what you're going to get. Sometimes it can, depending on how you do it, you might have to do it compositing in Photoshop. So if you're not familiar with that, but anyway, so that's the deal with that. Nice job on this one though, and I'm glad to see you stretching yourself and doing some food photography. It's very interesting work. And people that are good at it are really good at it. The interesting thing for me is I could certainly do food photography, but the problem is not the photography part. It's not the lighting. It really requires a stylist who can do the food, lay it out, make it look appealing. That's where a lot of the work comes in on food photography. So, good job on this one. Okay, let's see what we got here. The other one, okay, so this one now, this one I think was also submitted. Yeah, this is another one that was submitted by PM, who did the photo of his wife, and also the photo of the gentleman with the angst or the difficulty in his face. And he says he wanted to show this craftsman in his workshop as a woodworker, also recognized immediately the desire he had to share his craft. So this is one, you're kind of in my space now. These are things that I love to do. I love photographing interesting people. I seek them out. I'll approach them. I don't know if you've looked at any more. I've done a series on roller derby girls. I did a series on roller skaters. I did a series on weightlifters. Anyway, so I love these people that look interesting. So in this one, you're in my wheelhouse now. So here's what I would tell you. As a portrait, it looks pretty good. Okay, it's not bad. You might want to crop it a little bit, I think, to make it a little more interesting and to draw the attention up a little bit to his face, maybe just above his hands, because he's got some of his hands in. Although his hands and the ruggedness of his hands certainly add to the story. What's missing for me in the story is I don't know this guy's a woodworker. You told me he was, but there's nothing to show me that. So there are two ways you can do that. You can use a prop, in other words, have him hold something that's a piece of work that he would use to build or to make what he does, and then, oh, okay, I see a guy's a woodworker. Or use the background, and which is my favorite thing to do. When I'm doing a magazine assignment, let's say if I was assigned to photograph this gentleman for an article, the first thing I would look for is not the light, which most people would. I want to look at that background. Where can I find a background that will help tell the story of what this guy is all about? That's what I want first. And then once you find that background, you set him up. Then you can add your own lighting, of course. You've got to be able to do that. A little strobe or something. Doesn't take much. And to bring him up. Now all of a sudden you've told a story. Now it's not just him, but that background reinforces the story. Look into movies. When you watch movies, look at the background. I'm sitting there staring at the background of most of these movies, and I'm looking at the lighting and stuff like that instead of the actual image. And the reason is I love the set design, and it tells a story. Everything in that frame tells that story and reinforces that story. So get in the habit of thinking about that background as being just as important as the foreground. I want to make sure that background, every piece there should be there or shouldn't be there. If it doesn't belong there, take it out, reframe it, change your composition. If it does, include it, light it, whatever you need to do to help tell that story. So, but again, thanks for sharing that one. I encourage you. This is a great assignment. I encourage you to keep going and maybe have some others of this gentleman. But again, include what he does. Tell that story. Okay. All right. Let's see here. This is another one. What's the story on this one? Boy, we got some more here. This one is. Oh, that's right. This is OT submitted this one. And did not give me any comments on it, which is okay. It does help, though, if I have some backstory. But again, nice composition, a good conversion to black and white. And obviously it shows some weathered wood, shows that it's old. Might be a little more context would be a little better. I'd be curious to see what it looks like in maybe a horizontally. The other thing is maybe I see that weathered wall behind it. I wonder what it would look like if you were to take and move over and include more of that wall. In other words, shoot horizontally, use that wall to lead the subject, the viewer, directly to the subject you're looking for. Instead of it just standing out, use those leading lines to help and reinforce your image and to draw what people want to look at. See, again, by itself, it's a good picture, interesting image, and if you look at it and go, oh, wow, I see the weathered wood, I know it's a wheel, but you're not really. There's a lot going on in this frame, and so it can be a little confusing sometimes. So that would be my suggestion there. This is also another one from the same person. OT submitted this one. I like this image. It works. I think it's the composition is good. It's not stuck in the middle like most people do. The bird is looking off to the right, out of frame, as you call it. And so I think this works. Nothing wrong with this at all. It's a wildlife shot. So, yep, good job on this one as well. I encourage you to keep up with the. I know you kind of bounce around a little bit, and I notice your work kind of goes from one thing to another, and that's okay. Now, this next one is also from the same person, and this one is my favorite. Now, I don't normally like to talk about what I like and don't like because it's not up to me. What I try and do is focus on what works and what doesn't work. I think this photo works, and here's why. It works because, number one, I know what's important. I know the gentleman's important. You're using combination of different colored light, which, again, is part of the 7 elements of art, okay, using color, and that's a very, very important thing. The other ones, by the way, we were talking about in the black and whites use what's called value, which is the shades of color. Anyway, so that you mix light, the daylight is blue, and the lamp is very warm, which is a really good combination in a color wheel. He's got an umbrella over his head, so it looks like the weather's inclement. And the other thing I like about this image that works for me is he's not looking into the frame, into the camera. He's looking outside. So he's looking into the light or past the light. And I think that adds some intrigue to the photo. Because what happens is when someone looks into the camera, the goal and the reason you do that is so they connect with the person on the other end of the camera. But for this one, it's a little more distant. You're trying to tell a more story. He's looking off. You don't quite know what he's thinking about, but you know there's something going on there. And so it's a more storytelling approach as opposed to a more direct portrait approach. So I think this is OT. This one really works. This is a good one. I encourage you to keep going on this. Again, I'd love to see. Well, if do you have any other shots from different angles? So for me, this is a good one. It's a great establishment shot. I don't know if I would do vertical, maybe. Might have done horizontal. But also, I'd be curious to see what happened if you went around next time and put the lamp right here and the gentleman in the back. In other words, include the lamp in the foreground and use his face in the background. That gives it some depth. And that makes the picture more interesting as well. So don't be afraid to move around. In fact, there's a theory about moving 360 degrees, or I don't typically will do that, but you can. Thing is, shoot from here, move, shoot, move, 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 and look for that right angle, the proper angle you think tells that story. It's one of the problems I find myself with zoom lenses. They're really nice, but they make me lazy, I'm just kind of staying in one spot. The nice thing with a prime lens is I have to move around a lot more to get that framing just right. So I'm kind of always looking for the right photo. And for me, I find that prime lenses mean fixed focus lenses make my work better. So that's an object. But anyway, I would encourage you to try and move around and maybe shoot through the lamp, or at least put the lamp on the right side of the frame and his face on the left side. I'd love to see what that looks like. And I think this is another one, yeah. So this is the last one that I think they submitted. It's a few more photos than I like, but hey, this person is a really great asset to the community and a great supporter, so she has leeway as far as I'm concerned. Okay. Let's see here. Yeah, okay. So this one here is kind of interesting. It's kind of landscape-ish. It doesn't really take me anywhere, but what it does do is it does use leading lines, and that's a great exercise. So you positioned, you positioned that corner of that lake exactly in the right spot. You want it right there on that corner, right there in that tip, not above, not below, right there in that corner, and so the eye is led right up there to the curve and into the subject. You might be able to bring crop it down a little bit from the sky and remove a little bit of that sky and make it even a little more. And that would tell the viewer that the tree is really the most important thing in the frame, not the sky. But not bad, not bad at all. So again, leading lines, good job on the leading lines. Kudos on that one. Very, very good job. Okay, so this one was submitted by AT, and AT says one of the most images. Most of their images are of children and animals or friends and family, which is cool. And their memories, not only that's something that they can see and work, but try and display that as a work of art, something that gives her joy and captures the moment. I think it's a great approach. And so I see what you're trying to do here. Again, the fact you got them looking off camera is really better than looking in camera. It gets kind of boring. I would suggest look. You got 3 rambunctious children there, I'm sure. So AT, I would say the next thing would be to try and get them to be a little more animated, give them something to do. I like to use props sometimes. I'll bring out a bag of stuff, flags or sunglasses or those paddle balls, all kinds of crazy things that will distract them and get them involved in doing an activity, and then you can get a little more interest out of the photo. But it's, you know, so the thing there is just the composition's a little weak on this one, but don't let that discourage you. Keep working on this and work on them. Again, you know, you got 3 children there, so you could do, and you've got some rocks there. What about if you were to compose them 1, 2, 3? You know, put the young lady at the bottom, the other one at the top, and then shoot them then vertically that way. That might help the composition that way. I don't know. So, but just keep at it. These are good, and thanks very much for submitting this. This is an interesting photo, and I know it's a difficult subject. So hopefully that helps a little bit. Okay, this one was submitted by SA, and it said they've got a lot of snow where they live, and they were just taking a picture of a tree covered in snow. They want to do something different, so they took an ornament outside, hung it on one of the trees, and not sure it made all the branches in focus. No, I like it. I think it works. It definitely works. In fact, by not having all the branches in focus, it works even better because they're not important. It would just be distracting. And the fact that there's snow, I think this is a really well done image, and it's I think it works. So the composition is nice, the way you framed it to the left, not in the center. Got the branches coming down, which lead your eye right to the ornament. Yeah, it says Christmas to me. I mean, this could easily be a Christmas card or a gift card or something like that. So well done. Yeah, no. I think you nailed this one. And this one here is the last one. This is also from SA, and it's father and daughter in front of the Christmas tree. Had to crop this a lot because they had to attempt to get the entire tree, 10-foot tree in photo. People were not cropped off. Only part of them that I had in the photo, all the tree made, it seemed like they were not really in a focal point. Oh, I see. So I cropped the top of the tree out. That's okay. Should I have had them move right, left? Man's face is kind of red. Yeah, that's okay. I get that. That's, you know, look, the toning and stuff is easy to fix. I could fix this in 10 minutes, but that's not important. What you've done here is you've really, and you don't need the top of the tree there. The back, again, here's an example of what I was talking about earlier. The background tells a story. It's obvious Christmas, right? Obviously, they're celebrating Christmas. Obviously, it's probably a father and daughter. It's pretty obvious looking at. So I would say you've nailed this. The only thing I would suggest is maybe after you shoot this picture, shoot a few others of them interacting. So again, let me kind of tell you how I think about this stuff. Okay, so we're thinking about, okay, father, daughter, what is it I want to say? I'm trying to think of the more meaning behind it. Oh, okay. The love for the father, or from the father to the daughter, or the daughter to the father, right? Hey, so how about if you had them facing each other and her looking up at him with a look on her face? That might make an interesting photo. The other way around, back to back. The point is, this is nice, and it definitely works. But if you have them interacting, try and get that emotion out a little bit more. You'd have a much more compelling image, much more creative image. So the composition you did is fine. Don't worry about that part. All that looks great. I would just work a little more on that interaction between the two of them, because I know I can tell that you know, at least looking at the image, they certainly have that look of each other and enjoy each other's time, and so therefore having them interact and fun, do something, give them an exercise. Hey, how about if you guys do this? How about if you do that? Have a list of 2 or 3 things and have them try. Of course, they're going to go, Mom, we don't want to do that. But give it, all right, well then how about this? So try it anyway. the thing is, though, you never know what you're going to get. The other trick, though, is you got to be ready, because they're going to be quick. They're going to move in and out of those emotions really, really quickly. And if you're not quick, you're going to miss them. So, okay. All right. So there's one other thing I want to tell you guys about. I'm glad I thought of it. And that is, I'm glad I found my notes. Some other things that we're doing here. Yeah, I hear you. And that is, I've been working on this a while for you guys, way too long, but I haven't released it because I wanted to give you some information to go along with it to be able to use it effectively. And that is, I have developed, I should really have brought a picture here with you guys. Let's see if I can bring this. So I have developed a set of frames, of digital frames for you guys to use on your for your photos. Now, one of the things that I always talk about is that it frustrates me that people just post their images without any context, and that they'll throw a watermark on it, and they'll throw a watermark on it, and that's about it. They won't really, and the watermark kind of, well, many times take up some of the picture. Anyway, it's just really not very impressive. So what I would suggest is, I'm going to see if I can show you this here. Let me. So where you want to do is and this is available now. So you want to go to Photo Mentor Academy, of course, /frames, and what you're going to get is a page that looks like this. And what this does is, these are a whole bunch, like I said, 40 plus frames that I've worked with to be able to design for you guys. And you can take your photos and use them any way you want. So instead of taking a photo that looks like this, putting your watermark on it, now you have a digital frame you can drop this in and make it look more like artwork as opposed. It's really, really nice. It's easy to use. There's a whole bunch of them. There's both a portrait or vertical and a horizontal design. They're wood, they're chrome, there's all kinds of different designs. And also, the thing that's held me up, here's some samples of what some of them look like, just a few of them. Some of them are rustic, some of them are polished. But what really, the thing that held me up was this video. I wanted to have a video for you guys to be able to see how to use these things, because I know a lot of people are not Photoshop experts. So what you do, there's 2 videos here right now. There's one on Canva, 2 on Canva, and I'm working on one on Photoshop and one on Affinity Photo. And those will be really short. I've already recorded them. I just have to finish the editing. But what's going to happen is, this shows you how to use these things and how to put them in a. And so I'm using Canva here. So I take you through a tutorial, and then I take it, and then you can edit a picture. And I'll show you one. It looks like here we used Tara's picture. She did this one here. Looks really nice. And so this is what it looks like when you're done. Pretty nice. So you can resize them. There's a whole bunch of stuff you can do with this. But anyway, I encourage you guys to check this out. It's free. It's my gift for you guys. I wanted to do it sooner. Sorry it's taken me so long. But again, just go to Photo Mentor Academy /frames, and that is where you can download. What will happen is, you put your name and your email in there. It'll send you an email with a link to download, and also the instructions, the videos, and you'll get a file. It's a zip file, and that's what I just added that a couple days ago, which is the instructions on how to unzip the file. It's a compressed file. What happens is, you click on it, Windows or Mac or anything will be able to work on it. It uncompresses, and it's going to create 4 folders for you. One with landscape, one with portrait, one with square, forgot to mention there's square frames in there, and then one with transparent frames. And you can use, and then the instructions will show you how to use Canva. The reason I did Canva first, it's free, and so if you don't have Photoshop or any of that kind of stuff, it's a little easier to use. You can upload them there and use them there. So the way it works is they're matted, Okay, there's a mat on there. You can put the photo on there on the frame, put a drop shadow if you want anything like that. Or the transparent ones don't have that mat. So what you do there is you put the frame in there, and then you put the photo behind the frame, so the frame covers the edges of the photo. Looks a little different. It looks a little more. It works for some things where you don't need the mat, especially the ones that are more rustic looking. So anyway, photomentoracademy.com/frames. You guys want to use that? Check that out, and hopefully you will enjoy that. Let me see here. I think check my notes real quick before I let you go and see if I have anything else. I mentioned the chat bot. I mentioned the frames. Okay. Oh, last thing is a lot more content coming for the YouTube channel. I'm working on something called Photo Mentor Minutes, and it's going to be a short videos on all kinds of topics for you. A lot of questions you guys send to me that I want to be able to answer, and I want to have a place to do it. So it makes sense to do it in a video. So anyway, you guys will enjoy that. We're also working on some new blog content, new newsletter, and of course new social media. So anyway, listen, again, I want to reinforce what I said when we started. I really, really do. You guys mean the world to me. I appreciate everything you do. I've made so many wonderful friends this last year and year before. You guys are just a blessing to work with, a blessing to me, and I just want to thank you. It really means a lot to me. I appreciate if those of you who subscribe to the YouTube channel. That always helps show some popularity, gets us seen a little bit more. So anyway, listen, thanks again, and we will see you next month, if not before. Thanks again. I appreciate it, and Happy New Year.